Hi everyone, this is State Representative Brenda Lopez Romero, and like many of you, I've gotten my absentee request form in the mail, which I've already took off the top portion, which we need to mail it out, but I just wanted to highlight some important things that I saw in the ballot for us to do this accurately. So again, part of what we need to do, our information of our name and address is already pre-filled out. We need to confirm that is correct. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is that box 4, where it says date of birth, is not highlighted, but I highly advise that you go ahead and fill out your date of birth. Now, that is different from box 7, where you're going to sign and put to the date of signature. So remember, box 4, date of birth, box 7, signature, and the date of signature. Now, also important to remember is to select your Democratic ballot on the options of box 5 between Democrat, Republican, and nonpartisan. Your Democratic ballot is where the race for Gwinnett and Forsyth for the 7th Congressional District will be, including your U.S. Senate, us in this race, of course, as your candidate for the 7th Congressional District, and also for Gwinnett County, we're going to have everything from our chair to county commissioner to multiple commissions that are going to be running, including school board in the Gwinnett County context. If you select the nonpartisan ballot, it will only give you the judicial races. So keep that in mind to select the Democratic ballot to vote for me as your candidate for the 7th Congressional District. Now, that being said, I've already mentioned box 7 requires your signature and date of signature. There's something else that I want to highlight that's really important that a lot of people haven't discussed is box 10. This doesn't apply to everybody. For those that does, it's vitally important. In box 10, certain individuals will be able to request the absentee ballots for the rest of the election cycle without having to do this filling out form again. Who are those individuals? If you're over 75, if you're physically disabled, if you're a uniformed service member, spouse, or dependent of a uniformed service member, or a U.S. citizen residing overseas. And then there's the different categories that you have to select. So if you fall under any of those categories in box 10, make sure that you fill that out, and that way you'll get your actual ballots for the remainder of this election cycle. So that includes runoff of primary, the November election, any runoffs that we might have from that November election. So very important, so you don't have to do this again if you fall under these categories. Now, after you confirm your address, you sign, you put your date of birth, the date that you sign. Make sure that you, as I already took off that top portion, then fold it so that the address box for, in this case, Gwinnett County is here. Make sure you put your address, and make sure, I highly advise that you put at least 2 stamps on your form to return. Sometimes in the past, the post office has said that this weighs more than the requirement for 1 stamp. So just to avoid any potential issues, go ahead and put 2 stamps. That is for those of us that want to actually mail it in. What I advise you is instead to actually email it or fax it to your elections county office. For purposes of Gwinnett and Forsyth, I have the information of the email and the fax number that's listed on the county website. So if you go to brendaforcongress.com/vote, brendaforcongress.com/vote, you can find information for Gwinnett and Forsyth. For those that live elsewhere, you can go to the Secretary of State's website and look for each of your own election board offices, or simply Google them, right? And the reason that I suggest this, because, well, it's much faster. You don't have to worry about if you have stamps or if you got enough postage, or if you don't, you don't have to worry about going out and sending it to the post office. Instead, you can just from the comfort from your home, be able to email it or scan it. If you don't have a scanner, no worries. Most of us with smartphones, and if you're watching this on social media or through email, you likely have access to your smartphone that would allow you to download an app to be able to scan the document into some form to be able to both email it or print it to scan. Or, as some of you may know, you can also fax through online services. So keep that in mind. Now, for purposes of Gwinnett County, that information again is on my website, brendaforcongress.com/vote. But just real quick, I'll tell you here, if you're in Gwinnett County, the email that's listed is absentee with a double E, absentee with a double E, at gwinnettcounty.com. And for Forsyth voters, that is voter@forsythco.com. Forsyth Co, C-O, so that's voter@forsythco.com. And so that information again is readily available on the election board's office. So want to just give you a rundown of some of those things that is important for us to consider. Go ahead and mail out your ballot request as soon as you get it so that you can actually receive your actual ballot in the mail. Any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Email brenda@votebrendalopez.com. Again, that's brenda@votebrendalopez.com, or of course, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. You can look for our handle, at votebrendalopez, and you're able to send us any questions that you have there. Thanks for tuning in, and I'm really excited that we are, at least the active registered voters are getting this in the mail. If you don't get it by April 10, you can also download this form online at the Secretary of State's office, at the election county office's website, or on my website as well. I have a link to the PDF to be able to go to a fillable PDF, fill it out, print it out, and do the same, either mailing and or email or faxing. That's also available on the website. Again, that's brendaforcongress.com/vote. Talk to y'all soon.